Well, hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Good Morning George. Right. So this is episode 2. For those of you who've been following me, I've done one episode before this. And technically the next one was due on Sunday or Saturday or last Friday or some such thing. But I've been busy and, shit's been happening. I actually did film and put together a little video which is about the whole election and the fact that Trump won and everything like that, but honestly it feels like it's just so negative and everything being said. I mean, if you're going to vote for Trump, then perhaps you can't be reasoned with it all, and yet on the other side, voting for Hillary wouldn't have done anything but ruin us further as well. Obviously it was all rigged, the whole thing's a mess, but I think really if we want to move on, if we want to get ahead, we need to start looking beyond, blaming people and just the causes of things, just the reasons that we have these consequences, that people would be so disillusioned with a seasoned pro like Hillary at being a politician that they would actually choose a reality TV show host who has, constantly portrayed himself to be a terrible person. I think I'm overstepping my bounds there. I feel like that's the truth, and if you really think that, that's the way he speaks is not terrible, you obviously haven't looked at yourself in a while. You can't be reasoned with, and I'm trying to get away with it. Anyway, so I decided not to upload that video. I'm just going to do this one instead, I thought. I just basically want to just get into the point. It's good morning. The date is Sunday, the 20th of November. And all things considered, the world has not burned down yet. None of us in Western society have been blown up, because we do that to the Middle East and other places like that. It's the other way around. I think really what we're trying to do here is just sort of find a common ground where we all get along. And I don't think it's that hard. I think really a lot of people want the same things. Everyone kind of wants to not worry about their health, be able to raise kids, be able to live in a peaceful society, still have access to choices, which is what freedom is, and to live without persecution or fear. And all these discussions, that we have throughout, our society about, gun laws and whether this is good or that's bad, or should we disqualify a person for saying terrible things when they're running for presidency, other stuff like that. These are all just concerns that really what we're trying to do, I feel, is say, yes, I just want to live, yes, I want to be happy, let's just do that. So I guess what you have to ask yourself, what I have to ask myself, what we have to ask ourselves is, does your happiness come from a place where somebody else has to lose theirs for you to be happy? If your happiness is reliant on somebody else, not getting what they want in order for you to get what you want, then that's not really the same thing, because happiness has to come from within. Things like revenge and greed and lust, these I'm not religious, but these sins made sense on a metaphorical level to begin with, which is why things like religion were important and did have a role and can have a role today in society. But if you start, killing, raping, thieving, murdering, about the same thing, really. But, you start doing any of these things, or start, toying around with the idea of even bullying or intimidation to get what you want, which is what terrorism actually is, by the way. Terrorism is not a man in a turban. Terrorism is using fear to get what you want. If you're doing these things, maybe that's not happiness you're after. Maybe that's something you're trying to escape. Maybe that's something I'm trying to escape. That's what happens, I think. And so, ultimately, the situations that have landed us in all this hot water, which is basically allowing certain elected officials to get away with what they want, being shown that there's room to budge, and then they will fill that with more, dishonest and distasteful people. That's just going to happen, because there are just bad people out there, because of the way the world has conditioned them. Variables from biology to just their surroundings, childhood, how you've been raised, too many hugs, not enough hugs. Nobody comes even from too many hugs. Wrong kind of hugs, but not enough hugs, definitely. Just things like this. Not actually having a parent or actually being loved by someone. A lot of people, even like rich white kids who it's hard to sympathize for because, they shoot up a school and it's like, well, you also had a convertible. How sorry am I supposed to feel? Unfortunately, even, these kids, they are kids, have been put in a position where they felt like this is the only way out. And I know it doesn't seem as high a priority as someone who's been homeless their entire life, and yet they've managed to find a way to not become psychos. And fair enough. That is fair enough. But even so, ultimately we're all people. It really just takes a bit of empathy to, figure out who's on. This is old, mate. She wanted to turn up to say, you know, be excellent to one another and, you know, just be cool. No need to get in such a bad mood to start all these fights. You know, we're all on the same team. I agree with you, little fella. You can just hang around right there. There we go. That's lovely. Look, basically all we need to do really is just not jump straight to the insults, you know, unless it's just a laugh, because some of that stuff is funny. But if it's done vindictively, then, you know, like if you say something and someone really takes offense, you can just say, I'm sorry. And if they say something offensive after that, you just walk away. It's actually pretty easy to ignore people who are dicks. It really is. I do it all the time. I do it to myself constantly. People do it to me every single day. And it works. I stop after that. That's how it works. You know, just be gracious, be kind. Everyone appreciates someone who's polite. You know what, this is just turning into a video where I'm telling people what to do. Ultimately, I feel like the point of what I'm trying to say now, just to keep it brief, is with everything that's happening in the world, how easy it is to just, you know, attack one another for their beliefs, to just, you know, miss the point and have that fight because you feel like it's finally time. Everyone throughout time, since the dawn of humankind, has been thinking that it's now or never. But it's not. It's not now. It's forever. It's just one big slow move. So if we really want to see the world be saved and the world be changed, I think we need to start thinking more like, how can we help the next generation to know enough to get that shit done? Because this generation is going to have to deal with an older generation who is fucking shit up big time. And not because they are older, because it's not based on age, or it's not based on generations, it doesn't work like that. The same group of people who are destroying the planet, 70-year-old men who think that, you know, conversion therapy works. Are you mental? People who think that stuff can actually exist are the same age as people who are genuine war heroes and didn't go off to fight because they wanted to kill or they wanted to be heroes, but because they genuinely thought they were helping. And I know it's hard to... I'm not an endorser of war at all, and I don't think being a soldier makes really that much sense, but there are and have been occasions in time throughout human history where unfortunately bad has to have been combated by good with some force. I mean, the obvious one is World War II, but it's a lot of shit. I'm not counting Syria, I'm not counting any of this Middle Eastern bullshit. America has caused a shitload of trouble. But it's not Americans, it's just this ridiculous formed groups that have no face that tell us what to do because that's the right way to go, because they use fear. And all we have to do is just not be scared. Just work together. Be polite to everyone. People totally like it. And if you're polite to someone and they're still rude and you're polite again, more often than not, they just had a guard up. Because you do that, I do that sometimes, right? Like, you know, you're out and someone smiles at you and you just don't realize they're smiling at you until it's too late because you've already been scowling about something else that fucked you over that morning. Be it whatever, you know, couldn't find the keys, someone moved your hat, you know, you burnt the top of your mouth. You haven't eaten. That always gets me, you haven't eaten. But, you know, people are just dicks for their own little reasons sometimes. I'm a dick all the time. I'm telling you, if you can just pretend to be happy, you'll make someone happy, and you'll be happy too. It works. If you're feeling down, talk about it. If you're feeling depressed, let it out. If you're feeling any of these things, have a dialogue with someone and get it out there, because you're not alone, of course. Don't suppress the dark feelings, but just embrace the good ones and share them, because they get stronger if you share them. So everything that's happening right now, I suppose let's just get to the point of what I'm trying to say here. Because, you know, I'm already a week late, so we might as well put something up. Just so, you know, you can get to know me. I'm George. Just be good. Be cool. Just be cool. Be friendly, be polite, be kind, be generous, be understanding. And you can't fail. The rest of it just falls into place. You'd be surprised if you don't already know. If you do already know, then I'm preaching to the choir. If you don't believe me, prove me wrong. If you're the kind of person who really feels like Pence and Trump will save the world, can you just please try and understand what other people are saying as well? Because we're all living here. Things like people shouldn't be allowed stuff because you think so is not enough reason for someone to not have it. Because otherwise, I don't think you guys should be allowed to vote, and that would be ridiculous. So you see that, yeah, right? Yeah, taking away all those things, all those human rights, It's the same as taking away your voting rights. It's the same thing. It's just unfair. I shouldn't be able to influence somebody else's human rights based on my opinion. I should be based on fact. It should be based on democracy. It should be based on evidence and things that make sense and seeing how things work. And thankfully, in the 21st century, with all the science and all the brainy people we have out there, you know, you don't need people like me to come along and just spout rhetoric. We have the math. But unfortunately, people like me still exist. We still have use for just chat in terms of figuring out what's important. Unless, you know, the robot overlords take over, which, you know, I gotta say, there are certain like post-apocalyptic worlds that seem less bizarre than the one we're living in right now, in a way. I'm watching all the Walking Dead, sort of feeling like I could do pretty well. You know, I feel like I could get pretty, you know. So, yeah. Let's just not let it get us down. Whichever way you voted on that whole election, and if you obviously couldn't vote, like myself and most other people, and you're still feeling disheartened, don't. That stuff's all just a big show somewhere else on one stage. All we have to do is by being good people, that's it. You just be a good person, you do what's right, you don't hurt other people. We're free right now. So yeah. Hey, thanks for coming in to Good Morning George, and with any luck, my next show will be on time. Thanks for watching.